I've gained more than a third of my body weight here. The diet is all carbs, no protein. I don't have any antibiotic cream, and I don't have a Band-Aid. Borrowing sanitary pads. She said, "You're going to buy me commissary. You don't snitch, you don't tell on anyone because you'll be sorry you did."
Mama Donna's defense begins in less than an hour from now. Will we see the alleged matriarch mastermind taking the stand? Plus, will her convicted son Charlie defend her? Could his testimony tip the scales in his mama's favor? Also this hour, closing arguments expected today in Cardi B's civil assault trial. We have the biggest and the best moments from the Los Angeles courtroom. And we're asking, what will the jury make of all the evidence? And baby Emmanuel's parents preparing for court this week after they've been charged with his murder. We're spotlighting the latest in the case. It's all coming up next for you right here on Opening Statements. Good Tuesday morning to you, my friends. Welcome to Opening Statements. I'm Julie Grant. I hope you had a great long weekend. Hope you rested up. Boy, it's a big week this week on Court TV, and we got a big show to kick it off. Grab that cup of coffee. It's time for my opening statement. A leopard never changes its spots. And a guy who's been a mama's boy all his life doesn't suddenly turn on the #1 lady in his life. This, I predict, will be the case with Mama Donna Adelson's boy, Charlie. The evidence has shown us he liked his ladies, but it seems that none of them could hold a candle to his queen. I think that Mama Donna's little prince is going to stick with his story of extortion. I think he's going to stand by his story that the greedy gangbangers saw an opportunity to take advantage of him and his rich family after the coincidental murder of the former family member that they hated so much, victim Dan Markel. I think Prince Charlie is going to be a good boy on the stand today and not say anything that will incriminate his Mama Donna. Now, as for incriminating Wendy, well, weak memory Wendy's another story. You know, I think if Charlie implicates anybody, it's going to be his lovely sister. I don't think that he's going to want his 75-year-old mother to spend the rest of her days in prison, but he just might feel differently about Wendy. We'll see. The fact that the state of Florida did not call him tells me that they knew he would only be helpful to his mama. I think we're about to see extortion defense 2.0 this week as we get ready for Mama Donna to present her case. And I think she's going to be counting on her little prince to help her out big time. That's my opening statement. Let me know if you like it right now. It's time for your daily docket.
I personally feel like if there's no physical touch, there is no incident. There was a verbal altercation. If you think that that's an incident, a verbal altercation, then it's an incident for you.
In California, we've got the closing arguments expected today in rapper Cardi B's civil assault case. Court gets underway at 12:30 p.m. Eastern Time. In Colorado, defendant Barry Morphew is going to be in court today. He's accused of murdering his wife, Suzanne, after she went missing on Mother's Day back in 2020. The hearing begins at 3:30 p.m. Eastern. And in Florida, the case I was just talking about, Mama Donna Adelson's case, and her defense begins this morning. The jury set to begin hearing the evidence at 9 a.m. Eastern Time. That is our top story for you. So, burning question, will we see the alleged matriarch mastermind take the stand? Well, Donna's indicated she will testify in her own defense. The state resting its case in chief Friday after 6 days of testimony and 26 different witnesses called. Some notable faces, including Donna's daughter, Wendy, I call her weak memory Wendy, and Donna's estranged son, Rob. Poor guy. And 2 jail informants. Yeah, these were 2 other very notable witnesses you see right here, these ladies. One of them said that she was Donna's quote-unquote jailhouse daughter. Drina Burhart testified that Donna tried to buy false testimony from behind bars.
Whose handwriting is this on this first page?
That's Donna's, Miss Anderson.
Okay, so she wrote this in your notebook?
Yes, ma'am.
And what is it you were supposed to do with this information?
I was supposed to study it and answer it correctly on the stand for her.
So this is what she wanted you to say in court?
Yes, ma'am.
Did she give you anything or promise you anything in exchange for reciting this script?
While I was in jail, I received packages and phone calls, and I was promised things as well.
And you said she promised you other things in the future. What other types of things?
$10,000, a grand piano.
All right, so how do you think the state did? Did the state of Florida prove its case? And what can we expect from Mama Donna's defense case? Let's talk about it all. So happy to have on the program this morning former homicide prosecutor Melba Pearson and retired NYPD detective and the host of his show, The Rob O'Donnell Show on Odyssey, Rob O'Donnell. Good morning to you both. All right, so let's start with the state of Florida. Melba Pearson, you know I want to ask you if you think they've proved its case.
Well, good morning, Julie and Rob. And yes, I think the prosecution has proved their case in spades in terms of laying out the motive, bringing the actual people that perpetrated the crime, all of that. So I think that they really laid out the pathway to Donna Adelson's guilt. They made it very accessible, very easy to understand, and they hit all the elements. So I very confidently predict a guilty unless something crazy comes out of the hat from the defense perspective.
Cordy, you're hearing it from Professor Pearson there. Melba, thank you for that. Rob O'Donnell, let me talk to you, please, about what went into this. Because I think unless you've done wiretaps, I think it's really hard to know just how intricate and how many hours involved an investigation like this would be. Would you kind of take us behind the scenes and explain to us how it goes?
Yeah, once you have this many players involved in a case like this, it's wide span and it's bound. It's the perfect storm to fall apart, the story. And that's what you saw here on the stand during testimony. What I love about the courtroom testimony that they had here is they showed how the mother takes control, not only in her personal life with her family members, but in the jail itself with her cellmates. Who promises a baby grand piano? And if she happens to have access to one, it kind of just shows how she's manipulative, how she's pulling the strings behind the scenes. And it just gives that sense of, how good law enforcement and the prosecutorial team did here.
Definitely, Rob. A perfect segue to another clip I want to play for you incredible analysts. This is from informant number 2. So there were 2 jailhouse informants. We heard a little bit from the first. Now let's hear from Patricia Bird. She's saying that Donna essentially confessed to her.
Once you and Donna Adelson became close friends, did she ever talk to you about her pending case, this case?
She did.
When y'all would have those conversations, did you ever outright ask her whether she did what she's accused of?
I did.
And what did she say to that?
She said she did. It was to keep her grandkids, but it wasn't supposed to go that far.
Did she offer you anything in exchange for you providing that information?
Yes.
What did she offer you?
A trailer and some land, and she would have her husband fix my teeth.
All right. Wow. That was a moment. That was a moment in the courtroom, no doubt. Melba Pearson, do you think this testimony from this informant and the other informant, the 2 jailhouse informants, can be relied upon by this jury?
So that's a very interesting question, Julie. Now, as a general premise, juries don't tend to like people that are quote unquote snitches, right? But at the end of the day, and this is very important in jury selection as well as throughout the pendency of the case, you have to remind the jury that, 2 things can be true at the same time. Like these folks could be convicted of doing whatever deeds, but at the same token, they could be telling the truth about what actually happened. And who likely to get that information but somebody who is acquainted with the defendant in that particular setting. So I think think that there is a pathway for the jury to be able to find these witnesses credible, especially in terms of the detail that they gave and the very specific compensation that they were promised. You know, as Rob mentioned, the baby grand piano, and as we just heard, having your teeth fixed by a dentist, which happens to be what your family trade is. So I think there are a lot of things here that the jury can rely on and use to come to the conclusion that Donna Adelson is guilty of this murder.
Yeah, great explainer, Melba. Thank you. I want to play that important clip of what has been referred to as the bump. Seemed to get Donna all stirred up. Let's take a look. And Rob, I'm coming to you on the other side.
Mrs. Adelson? How you doing? Just want to give you this. Listen. No, don't be scared. Listen, I just want to let you know that you know that your family has been taking care of Katie and her friend Hugo for quite some time after your problem up north has been resolved. And I want to let you know that my brother, he's incarcerated. He helped your family with this problem you guys had up north. And we want to make sure that he's going through some rough times. And we want to make sure that you take care of what he's going through the way you're taking care of Katie and Tuba. Well, this will explain it. Thank you.
All right, Rob O'Donnell, give us your assessment of that interaction, please.
Well, it just goes to show that the legal team here, the prosecution and the law enforcement, the extent they went to cover all bases here. You could see them bring up the case of others helping her, and it was not, I don't know what you're talking about immediately. Don't get away, just get away from me or anything like that. There was inquiry on her part, looking at this here, and that will just add to, why we just, I have no idea what you're talking about, rather than, oh, okay, and then kind of say, well, I don't know, type thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she's definitely pausing there. There's definitely a big pause. It's not like she's walking away, I don't know what you're talking about, get out of my hair. No. And then we know she's calling Charlie up. She's nervous. She's worried. Melba, what would you say when we look at this case overall? Was there any moment that you think was a turning point? Might it have been this, with the investigation with Donna, or might it have been a call with Charlie after his conviction? Is there anything that really stands out to you where you think it solidified the case against her that it seems to me perhaps law enforcement was wanting to bring some time ago, but just felt they didn't have enough, perhaps?
Yeah, I mean, in terms of the turning point, to me, the biggest one was her one-way ticket to Vietnam, a country with no extradition. I mean, as a general premise, we always say, oh, innocent people don't run. Of course, there could be other mitigating circumstances as to why you may not want to, deal with law enforcement around a particular set of circumstances. But here, when your son basically gets convicted, the house of cards has fallen apart around you, and your first thought is to get on a one-way trip to Vietnam at random when you have no connection to the country. It's not like, oh, this was on my bucket list or anything like that. To me, that screamed guilt. And I think the jury is going to see that the same way.
Yes, and they'll get that flightless consciousness of guilt instruction, right, Melba? It'll come in Florida. Oh, thank you both so much. We're going to watch the courtroom because sometimes they start early. So if they start early, we'll go in. Melba and Rob are coming with us. Do the same at home, please. Go get some more coffee. Here is what's next for you here on Opening Statements.
I feel like when I got sued, I was like, when I got sued, I was like, oh, I know I didn't touch her. Like, it's like, look for the cameras because they'll tell you.
We're counting down to closing arguments in Cardi B's civil assault case. So who will the jury believe? We'll discuss. And the parents of baby Emmanuel Harrow in court this week, their little boy, his remains still haven't been found. The latest developments from the California case that is gripping the nation.
Matriarch of the Adelson family gets arrested.
Terrible.
Donna Adelson is facing charges of murder, the death of her former son-in-law, Dan Markel.
Prosecutors say a bitter child custody battle was the motive for the murder-for-hire plot. Now that Donna has turned into a defendant, what's next for the Adelson clan?
Now that the ship is really sinking fast, blood doesn't matter that much.
The Matriarch Mastermind Murder Trial. Live coverage today, only on Court TV.
There's the main scar here. And this entire area here shows differences in the skins.
She was like, you fat ass, so I'm gonna beat your ass. I'm gonna get you fired.
Did the defendant use her fingernails to cut your face?
She did. I personally feel like if there's no physical touch, there is no incident. There was a verbal altercation. If you think that that's an incident, a verbal altercation, then it's an incident for you.
Welcome back. Cardi B's civil assault trial has been filled with memorable moments, and today it's time to see some more. Today is the day for the all-important closing arguments. The Grammy Award-winning rapper is standing by her claims that the incident in question was verbal only and that she did not touch former security guard Imani Ellis. The plaintiff, however, is claiming that she was attacked by the pregnant rapper, which left her with a scar on her face that needed cosmetic surgery. She's seeking damages in the amount of $24 million. So what are your expectations for the closing arguments? And what is it like to represent a high-profile client? Well, let's bring in someone who knows exactly what that's like. She's the co-owner and the host of Justice Served TV. She's a high-profile trial attorney, the lovely Linda Kenny-Bodden on the show today. Linda, good morning to you.
Good morning. Good morning, Julie, my friend. So nice to see you.
Oh, you
what
too.
Is it like? Well,
please.
Well, the first thing you have to do, is decide during the trial before you even get to closings whether you want the client to be the client. For instance, when I represented Phil Spector, I didn't want to change a thing about him because I wanted the jury to see who the decedent went home with, right? So the attorneys in this case, her attorneys, decided they wanted her to be Cardi B. They didn't want her to be anybody else. They didn't want her to be Bill Callis. They didn't want her to be her. That's her given name, right? They wanted her stage name, and boy, did she come through for them.
She sure did, Linda. Tell me, this is helpful because I think for anybody wondering how strategic is, let's say, her attire in the courtroom, her outfits, and you're such a fashionista yourself. I know you love fashion and appreciate it. So tell me, for anybody wondering, is anything coincidental in terms of, her hair, her makeup, her clothing, all of it?
Absolutely nothing. Everything is pre-planned. She also has handlers, and she also has the attorneys have to deal with her press people too. Because remember, she's a star. She's got an album out. There's questions whether it's tanking or not, and whether this helps it. But that's a different issue. So do you believe her? Because look at her. I mean, the attorney tried to say, well, the security guard didn't recognize you, but she did recognize her. And ultimately, this case is not going to come down to Cardi B's status. It's going to come down to the fact that the plaintiff, in my opinion, had no pictures at the time of the alleged incident. The plaintiff did not take the spit and saliva. She's a security guard. She said she spat on her. She could have taken that, a la Monica Lewinsky and the famous dress, and had it tested for DNA. The doctor and the receptionist all testified for Cardi B. And ultimately, she didn't see a doctor for 4 years who said he then treated her for a hypersensitive scar that could have been caused by a fingernail. But then whose fingernail? 4 years later?
Right. Come on, no pictures at the time of the incident. You can barely see whatever it is that's on her face. Is it a scar? Is it a scratch? It's debatable. I had a hard time seeing it myself. Linda, I want to play a clip for you. You mentioned this, how good the testimony was from so many of those witnesses. The doctor and the receptionist really stood out to us as very favorable witnesses for Cardi B. Let's go back and listen to what they shared.
It definitely didn't come from me.
Okay, so that's out. You got two more.
And
Ellis and Cardi B. Or
Cardi
your own.
was behind me. So the only assumption that I had was it was from Miss Ellis because she was facing me.
Did you at any point use your hands to separate the two of them, Imani Ellis and Cardi B?
No.
Did you see Cardi B hit plaintiff?
No.
Did you see Cardi B scratch or cut plaintiff with her fingernail?
No.
Did you see Cardi B threaten to get plaintiff fired?
No.
Did you hear Cardi B call plaintiff the N-word? And by that I mean the whole.
No.
Did you hear Cardi B call plaintiff fat or poor?
No.
Okay, so with this testimony in mind, Linda, let's say you're representing Cardi B in this case. What would be your biggest goal in the closings in terms of the message to convey to this jury?
That you know Cardi B, you've seen Cardi B, she was pretty upfront about how angry she was, but there's simply no evidence that indicated that she scratched, touched, or hit the plaintiff here, and as a matter of fact, all the evidence is contrary. Now, I know you're going to ask me what the plaintiff's going to say. I know that.
Yes, yes. Tell me, my friend, what will they share to the jury? What they should share for the jury? Is it a better question?
Yeah, they're going to say, of course, the doctor and the receptionist are going to be biased. This is their practice. They don't want people to think that they didn't protect their high-profile patients. But this woman has come for you. She's been poked. She's been probed. And why would she do this to herself unless she was hurt by Cardi B? That's going to be their argument. They may allege that, at least find Cardi B guilty of the assault, which is to scare her, and not the battery. And the jury then could, and I think if you're the plaintiff, the best you can hope for is the jury comes with that kind of split verdicts and orders some maybe minimal damages. That's the best you're going to hope for.
Yeah, really great point, Linda. Speaking of the jury, let's talk a little bit about their decision and how this really boils down to very much a she said case.
She was sticking her tongue out. She was flailing her arms up and down. She was jumping up and down, body shaming me. I mean, racial slurs, just a lot.
And did she spit on you?
She did.
Did her spit actually land on your body?
It did.
Did the defendant take a swing at you?
She did.
When she took a swing at you, it didn't hit your body, correct?
No.
Did the defendant use her fingernails to cut your face?
She did.
I feel like my privacy was completely being violated. I wouldn't want to be anything that has to do with my medical records or anything. Even if I do cosmetic surgery, I don't want people to be in anything that has to do with medical in your business. It's just, especially something that is so sacred as your pregnancy is yours.
All right, so predictions from all of our courties at home and from our wonderful guest, Linda Kenny Bodden, is what we want to do now. Linda, if you had to predict what this jury is going to do today and why, what would you say, please?
Well, I think that the jury will no cause the plaintiff's verdict. The only hope they have is for some minimal damages, as I said, for possibly the verbal assault. But I don't think they're going to find that. This is a security guard. That she should have known better. And everybody knows who Cardi B is. Everybody knows she gets angry, even though the plaintiffs even though the defense attorneys were able to keep out some of the other cases that she may be involved in. But this is when she went to her doctor for being pregnant. And I think the jury is going to find that humanistic moment that you just played there from her testimony is going to override the plaintiff's case.
Linda, tell me, having had the experience of representing high-profile attorneys many times in the courtroom, what are some of the other plans that you would have in place today in terms of PR, media, other things like that that you may be thinking about in addition to just the argument you're making before the court?
Oh, if she wins, Cardi B wins, I would put her before the cameras and say, look, no one should go through this. Just what you just said. If you are pregnant, if you're going to your doctor's office, but you have to stay away from defaming now the plaintiff if you have a press conference. But I think she has to thank the jury. I think she has to be humble, and she has to not be Cardi B. She has to be Bill Callis, okay? And that, as I said, is her given name.
Yeah, she was authentic, and that really, it wins the day. I know you know this, Linda. You see that when people try to be somebody else, and like you said at the start, just being who she really is. I think the jury's going to be able to connect with her, I think, more than people may think, because at the end of the day, she's a human being, right? We all deserve the same courtesy and respect when we go to our doctors, and it seems to me like that's really what it all started with, the violation of the privacy and the exploitation when she's just trying to get checked. We'll leave it there for now, but again, today around noon is when the closings will start. Linda Kenny-Bodden, you always have a busy day ahead of you. You're doing your show, you're in the courtroom. Thank you for making time to come on Opening Statements today.
Thank you, Julie. I love seeing you all the time.
Love seeing you too. We'll see you soon. Bye-bye. And still to come here on Opening Statements, friends, don't go anywhere. Here's what's next in our spotlight.
How has this case impacted the community?
It's really sad. Everyone's mad. Like, if you didn't want him, but you could have just gave him to someone who did.
We're talking about baby Emmanuel Harrow's disappearance as one of his parents is speaking out from behind bars. They're expected in court this week, and the baby still hasn't been found. Plus, Donna Adelson's defense case begins this morning. Will she take the stand today? And what about her son, Charlie? That's coming up. This morning, our spotlight is on the father of missing baby Emmanuel Harrow. He's speaking out for the first time from behind bars. Now, it's been almost 3 weeks since Jake and Rebecca Harrow told police that their infant son had been kidnapped from a store parking lot. Following searches at their home, police arrested the couple, and they've been charged with the murder of their 7-month-old baby. But still, there's no sign of baby Emmanuel. This is what authorities believe has happened to him.
Do you believe you know how baby Emmanuel died or was killed, and is there anything you can share?
The filing in this case reflects our belief that baby Emmanuel was abused, a victim of child abuse over time, and that eventually, because of that abuse, he succumbed to those injuries.
Now, Jake Harrow reportedly joined investigators in the search for baby Emmanuel, but still no sign of him. And in the interview with the Southern California News Group, Jake would not confirm that he helped in the search, but insisted that he's innocent and has been completely cooperative. When asked what he would say to his baby Emmanuel, he responded, "I love you, buddy." So let's talk about this case. Let's bring back in retired NYPD Detective Rob O'Donnell, also formerly with the NYPD, private investigator Manuel Gomez with Black Ops Private Investigators. Manuel, let me begin with you, please. Where does the search go from here?
Well, unfortunately, I think the search is still continuing in the area where he originally took them, because as I stated in the past, there's mountain lions, there's vultures, there's coyotes that are in that area that would clearly take a baby. And I doubt he dug a deep grave. And unfortunately, there's a lot of predators in that area that would take the remains of that body. But the one thing about this case that nobody's talking about and needs to focus on is the outrageousness of the judge's decision, Julie. This case shows the red flags in our judicial system that there's currently no guardrails in place to remove a judge who is judicially incompetent. Right now, judges across the United States can be unlimited decisions overturned for improper rulings, and they still stay on the bench. Right now, our system relies on the public's belief that our judicial system is fair, just, and equitable. It is not just when we leave a justice like this still on the bench. He needs to be removed.
I appreciate what you're saying there, Manuel. So for anybody who doesn't know what happened here, so Jake Harrow had a felony child abuse case for badly hurting his 10-week-old baby girl. And this was a few years ago. And the district attorney, when he gave a press conference, he said essentially what you said, Manuel, that this was just an outrageous decision by the judge to give this man what's called a suspended sentence, essentially, you know, and probation. I never like suspended sentences. I feel like it's like a legal fiction. You know, you're either incarcerated or you're not. Here he was not. And so the DA says that's how this murder happened. Let's take a listen.
In this case, a judge here in Riverside County, happened to have been a visiting judge from San Bernardino County, gave Mr. Haro a suspended sentence, which means, if I can translate for you what that is, it means that instead of sending him to prison, he chose to give him probation. I will say that it was an outrageous error in judgment by this judge. And I don't have any problem saying that. I'm not attacking the judge personally. That decision was absolutely outrageous. Mr. Haro should have been in prison at the time that this crime happened. And if that judge had done his job as he should have done, Emmanuel would be alive today.
And the DA also noted that this was over the DA's office objection, that the prosecutors on the case did in fact object. Rob O'Donnell, what's that like when you're asking for someone to stay incarcerated, you know, to have a sentence of incarceration, whatever the case is, bond or sentencing, whatever, and the judge goes against what the recommendation is from your DA?
Well, it's infuriating, and you see here the results of that. We have a child that's no longer with us because of the negligence of this judge. And make no mistake, you know, the prior guest was 100% right. This is the negligence on the judge. This child would still possibly be with us today if this person was in jail and punished to the extent he should have been punished for. I also want to applaud the investigators in this. And in any case, you can never go into these cases with tunnel vision. And we know how this stopped with a possible abduction in a parking lot. You can't go into any case that started an investigation with tunnel vision and just purely looking at that. And in a time of finite resources, you know, to look at everything as you come into this, to where we saw where this case specifically went, you know, that's why things take time in these investigations. That's why if you're ever involved in an investigation as a victim or as a family member of a victim, things may not be moving as fast as you would like them to, because investigators, we are looking at every possible scenario, and this way you can prioritize resources to kind of focus on where you think this is going, and not shortly into this they started to go with, you know, there was foul play here.
This is really helpful insight you're sharing, Rob. Thank you for that. I want to ask you both the same question. If this guy is cooperating, he's saying he's cooperating, his words, not mine. So if he's willing to talk with detectives, then what tactics do you use to try to get to the truth with him if you do in fact believe that he did this homicide? Manuel, I'll start with you, please.
Well, with a guy like this, you know, one of the things you're going to use is you're going to offer him sentence reduction. You're going to tell him that he can get the death penalty, which is clearly on the table in this situation. Okay, and you can let him know that he can get, instead of 40 years, he might get 10 years. That's one of the tactics they're going to be using this. It's clear to me that he's playing the police. He's trying to tell them, yeah, I'm going to help you. I'm going to work with you. I'm going to make a deal with you and write it out. And it's proven to me that that happened, because he wouldn't have been out there searching for that body with them if he didn't cut a deal with his attorney. That's a fact. The thing is that I don't believe he's going to show exactly where the body is, because he's going to make it look like, well, you know what? I tried, but the body wasn't there, or I really didn't kill the kid. And he keeps flip-flopping back in the story, so he's a liar. But I do believe that the jury's going to find this guy guilty, regardless of not having a body, which is going to make it extremely difficult for the prosecutor to prosecute in this case.
Rob, same question to you, please. What tactics would you use with this guy?
You know, with his past history of abuse here that we now know and is documented, pulling on his heartstrings as a father is probably going to be difficult, but you would go in that direction to say, hey, let's give your child a place of rest. Let's get some conclusion here. You as a man, you as a father, you as a person, you need to help us here, because you are going to spend your time in jail. There's no getting away from that. but you can do the right thing here. You can make up for the wrongs you did, and kind of get him in a personal place to where, you kind of coax him to agree with him. We can make this better by you telling us the truth. And in fact, you're just looking to get the prosecution that you need to get on this case, because without the body, it is going to be difficult. The prior case, a defense attorney is going to do everything they can to make that non-admissible. So the jury may never know that.
Right. Excellent points you both are making. And for anybody who missed the DA's press conference, he said it's their belief that it was a series of abusive incidents, not just one, a series of incidents that then ultimately led to the death of this poor child. The search continues. Any developments, we will report it. Rob O'Donnell and Manuel Gomez, I could talk to you both all day. Thank you both so much for the insight this morning. And we're going to continue here on opening statements. I'm getting word Donna Adelson is in the courtroom. Live look at the courtroom right now. That is one of her attorneys addressing the judge. We're going to take you in there live in just a moment. Stay with us. It's the case the whole country is talking about. What you need to know before we take you inside the courtroom each day in the Matriarch Mastermind murder trial.
Opening Statements with Julie Grant. Mornings at 8, 7 Central on Court TV.
Welcome back to Opening Statements. I'm Julie Grant. I told you moments ago, Mama Donna's in the courtroom. We saw her attorney addressing the judge. This is the juncture of the trial where the defense has a motion they have to make. If they don't, it's malpractice, a motion for judgment of acquittal, trying to get the case to end here and not go to the jury. Let's listen to what arguments they're making.
Yes, Your Honor. State sidebar actually addressed one of the motions that I was going to make. With respect to the state's case, at this point in time, the defense would move for judgment of acquittal. The state's indicted Mrs. Adelson on 3 counts: first-degree murder, conspiracy to commit first-degree murder, and solicitation to commit first-degree murder. All 3 charges, obviously, of the indictment require that the state present evidence that Mrs. Adelson intended for Mr. Markell to be killed. However, as this court is aware, judgment of acquittal should rarely be granted on the issue of intent. However, the remaining issues are different. Specifically, whether the evidence lends itself to a finding that Donna Adelson was a principal to first-degree murder, whether she conspired for Mr. Markell to be killed, or she solicited another to kill Markell. To go through this briefly, Your Honor, to prove the count 1, the state has to establish, obviously in the light most favorable to the state, the evidence would have to support a finding that Mr. Markell is dead. The death was caused by the criminal act of Mrs. Adelson, and there was a premeditated killing of Daniel Markell. Since there's no evidence that Donna Adelson herself committed the crime, you have to look at the principal instruction. Principal instruction requires that in the light most favorable to the state at this stage of the trial, that there is competent evidence that Donna Adelson helped somebody else or other persons commit the crime. Specifically that she intended the crime to occur, and I think we go back to the initial statement I made about intent, but also that she did some act or said something that was intended to and that did incite, cause, encourage, assist, or advise the other person or persons to actually commit the crime. And for this, I think it's important that we look at how that is defined. And the most recent case on the issue where it was discussed at length is Denise Williams. And the Williams case, the first DCA, focused on what was done the day of. So in this case, it would be July 18th of 2014. And the site for Mr. Williams' case is 314 Southern 3rd, 775. It's the first DCA from 21. It's our position, Your Honor, that there's no evidence that Donna Adelson did some act or said something that was intended to and that did incite, cause, encourage, assist, advise, or advise the other person or persons to commit the crime. And as Williams indicated, you have to focus on what Mrs. Adelson did on July 18th of 2014. Williams' decision says proof of conspiracy alone is not enough. And so in the light most favorable to the state, let's go through briefly what the evidence reflects. Danny Markel was killed by Sigfredo Garcia, who was driven to and from the scene by Luis Rivera on July 18th of 2014. Both of them were solicited by Catherine McBanowa to drive from South Florida to Tallahassee. Luis Rivera testified that they were hired by the Wendy lady to get her kids back. Luis Rivera testified that he saw that Sigfredo Garcia had a picture of Markel with some writing which he believed to be an address. They made 2 trips to Tallahassee. During both of those trips, according to Mr. Lacoste, Wendy Adelson acted extremely anxious and exhibited odd behavior. At the time of both of those trips, Mr. Lacoste was scheduled to be heading out of town, and he drove a vehicle that looked similar to the ones rented by the shooter. There's no evidence that my client ever spoke with Catherine McBanowa, Sigfredo Garcia, or Luis Rivera.
Your client did speak, however, with Charles Adelson in the chain of communications. I believe the state's wording was the train cars.
Yes, Your Honor, I'm going to get to that.
Go ahead.
Thank you. The evidence, the undisputed evidence, is that Charlie Adelson kept stacks of stapled cash in his house. There is no evidence that Donna Adelson did the same. The evidence also reflects that Charlie Adelson had a safe the size of a refrigerator. There's no evidence that Donna Adelson had a similarly large safe. Before Mr. Markel was murdered, Wendy Adelson told Jeff Lacoste that the only way she could leave Tallahassee is if something happened to Mr. Markel. There is no evidence that Donna Adelson was aware of this statement made by Wendy Adelson. And there is no evidence that she also agreed that there was no way that Wendy Adelson could leave Tallahassee unless something happened to Dan Markel. Before Mr. Markel was murdered, Wendy Adelson told Mr. Lacoste that Charlie looked into hiring a hitman in the summer of 2013 after relocation was denied. There is no statement in evidence whatsoever that Donna Adelson was either aware of that, or said or did anything to encourage that or incite that. There's also no evidence that had been admitted that Donna Adelson was aware of the claim, that Charlie Adelson had actually looked into that. And additionally, before Mr. Markel was murdered, whenever Charlie was on the phone with his mother, he would walk out of the house to speak with his mother on the phone when Catherine McBanowa was there. After Mr. Markel was murdered, Catherine McBanowa went to Charlie's house. Charlie, according to the evidence of the light most favorable to the state, Charlie told her that his parents had just left. I rewatched her testimony over the weekend. During her testimony, she did not say that Charlie said anything at that point about his parents leaving money at the house. She testified that she woke up the next morning and Charlie said he had put the money in the trunk. She then left and tried to locate Sigfredo Garcia. She testified that when she got the money back later that day or the following day, that the money was stapled together. Her testimony was pretty clear. She said a couple days later, I'm pretty sure I contacted him and asked him why the money was wet. She did not say that she did. After Mr. Markel was murdered, Donna Adelson followed her daughter's instructions and used the last name Adelson for her grandchildren. After Mr. Markel was murdered, Donna Adelson conveyed the message from their family attorney, Weinstein, to Rob Adelson to not talk to the cops. After Mr. Markel was murdered, Donna Adelson wrote checks from Charlie Adelson's business account to Catherine McBanowa at Charlie's instruction. The evidence that has been admitted reflects that that business belonged to Charlie from 2012 to 2020. As this court knows, being a manager of an LLC is not the same as being an owner. After Ms.
Okay, so this is a motion that is standard. Every defense team has to make it, or they could be considered ineffective. I expect this motion to be denied by the court, because remember, this isn't the beyond a reasonable doubt burden of proof. This is just, is there enough evidence from which the jury could find either way? I expect the judge will deny this motion.